What happened? She muttered to herself with a dull expression. The chaotic scene in the surrounding streets told her that she was not hallucinating. Zhou Xuanji looked over. His gaze pierced through the atmosphere and saw the situation in the universe. A ball of raging black flames floated above Earth, revealing only a skull. He looked down at Earth coldly. What's that? Jiang Shui asked curiously. She could also see the black flaming skull outside of Earth. Zhou Xuanji's eyes narrowed as he said, "This familiar feeling, looks like destiny did not let me off." Everything was too coincidental. He had just woken up not long ago, and the peace on Earth had already been broken? It must be the drive of fate. Su Shu couldn't help but ask, "What are you talking about?" Zhou Xuanji smiled and said, "Nothing, let's go home." Su Shu did not give up and continuously asked questions on the way back. "Son, am I really not seeing things? Why did that meteorite suddenly disappear? And what is this destiny you were talking about? Son, did you hit your head?" Zhou Xuanji felt quite helpless and did not know how to explain. Jiang Shui kept giggling and almost laughed out loud. She suddenly felt that Su Shu was quite cute. Su Shu was not even as old as Zhou Xiaoxian. On the other side, above the atmosphere, the black flaming skull was stunned. What's going on? Why are the meteorites I summoned? He could not understand what was happening. Could it be that the mysterious power on Earth had awakened? He fell into a moment of hesitation. Should he still attack Earth? At the same time, Earth was in complete chaos. Meteorites appeared all over the world and nearly 10 billion people saw them clearly. All social media platforms were flooded with traffic. Stars descending from the sky. This is the apocalypse. Why did those meteorites suddenly disappear? Could it be a virtual projection? Looks like I'm not alone. That's too scary. Oh my God. Tell me I'm not dreaming. Why must I take out my transformation artifact? Every nation was discussing this and the space agencies were in chaos. Zhou Xuanji did not know about any of this. Even if he knew, he would not care. In the entire Earth, he only cared about his parents. Even if the Earth exploded, he would not worry. Xian Xianghua, Zhou Xiaoxian, and Lady Zhao Xian flew out of the atmosphere and surrounded the black flaming skull. This scene was also captured by the satellites of every nation. At this moment, many people almost went crazy. 3 Chinese women were flying? Was this the captain from China who was shocked? TSK, this guy is so ugly. Zhou Xiaoxian spread out her hands in disdain. Xian Xianghua slammed out with her palm and dispersed the black flames, revealing a skeleton, which almost scared him to death. The black flaming skull was almost scared to death. It immediately turned and ran. Xian Xianghua raised her hand and pulled it in front of her, making it unable to move. Chapter 634. Fake, it's definitely fake. Zhou Xuanji said as he shook his head, a look of disbelief on his face. Su Shu pouted and pulled Jiang Shui as she asked, "Little Shui, look, does it look real? Does this stinking brat think I've never been to school? This is evidently real." Jiang Shui smiled and said, "Yes, it's real, he's blind." Hearing this, Su Shu felt quite happy and rolled her eyes at Zhou Xuanji. Zhou Xuanji sent a telepathic message to Xian Xianghua, who was hundreds of kilometers away, asking about the skeleton's origins. Xian Xianghua replied, "I'm not sure, he didn't say. Seeing how weak he is, he should be fine." Her words were filled with disdain towards the skeleton. Zhou Xuanji was speechless and could only turn his attention to Su Shu and chat with her. Su Shu had been young before and she had worried about the apocalypse. What she had seen today made her feel very excited, but also very afraid. Not too long later, Zhou Xuanji's father, Yang Dabong, returned. He held a plastic bag with both hands and cursed, "The streets are so chaotic and the owner of the fruit shop wants to close down. He's talking about the apocalypse, what nonsense." They lived in the outskirts of the county town. This was an old 2-story house with a small courtyard in front. There were many houses like this on both sides of the street, and there were small mountains and rivers around them. It looked like a small villa in the outskirts. Yang Dabong walked over to Zhou Xuanji and cursed, "You brat, if you dare to play games all night again, your elder will beat you to death." He turned and smiled at Jiang Shui as he said, "Little Shui, right? Just treat this as your own home. I'll cook something good for you later." He smiled at Su Shu before hurriedly entering the house. Jiang Shui sent a telepathic message to Zhou Xuanji, "Your parents in your previous life were quite interesting." Zhou Xuanji only smiled and did not reply. He was curious about something else. It had only been half an afternoon since Xian Xianghua and the other 2 fought with the skeleton, and there was already a video? The speed was ridiculously fast. Could it be that there were countries behind this? That made sense. After all, the Earth was preparing to start the human ancestral plan. Before that happened, letting the humans know about extraterrestrial creatures and supernatural powers was a good thing. Now that they knew, starting the human ancestral plan would only bring them hope. If the opportunity for humanity to revert to their ancestral roots was suddenly activated, humans who did not know the threat of outer space would oppose it. Zhou Xuanji stopped thinking and pulled Jiang Shui into the house. When he came to the kitchen, he handed the bank card to Su Shu and smiled, "Mom, take this money first." Su Shu was taken aback for a moment before she hurriedly refused. She and Yang Dabong had jobs and were not seriously ill. How could they ask for money for a child? "Please listen to me, I don't need the money and don't ask where the money came from. I can tell you responsibly that the money came from a legitimate source. Soon the world will change. When the time comes, I will tell you everything. Now you and Dad should take the money and enjoy yourselves. Don't be frugal. I have as much money as I want," Zhou Xuanji said as he smiled. He used Dao voice to make Su Shu instinctively trust him, and she dumbly accepted the bank card. After he left the kitchen, Su Shu came back to her senses. "Why would I believe him?" Su Shu mumbled to herself before revealing an excited smile. "My son has grown up and knows how to earn money. He even knows how to care for his parents. I didn't raise him for nothing." Then as she washed the vegetables, she hummed a tune. Zhou Xuanji came to the living room and sat on the sofa, watching television with Jiang Shui. Just as expected, the television station started to broadcast the news that the satellite had captured in the afternoon. They moved so quickly. Yang Dabong cut some fruits and placed them on the table in front of the sofa before starting to chat with Zhou Xuanji about the news on the television. In the past few months he had discovered many strange things. He had worked in a factory and had seen large snakes that were as thick as bowls and rats that were as big as dogs. Thinking back to what had happened today, he felt quite excited. This is just like the revival of spirit chi I saw when I was young. Could it be that the Earth is going to evolve? Yang Dabong said excitedly as he swirled the cup of water. Who hadn't been a Chinibu when they were young? Which man hadn't dreamed of traveling the world with a sword? Jiang Shui smiled and said, "It might be as you guessed." "Is that so? Back when I was in school, I liked to watch the internet, especially Xianxia novels. Back then, I always dreamed of having my own flying sword." Yang Dabong chuckled as he reminisced. Jiang Shui did not know what he was talking about, but she still asked, "What do you like to watch?" Yang Dabang's expression brightened and he grinned as he said, "For example, Strongest Mythical Emperor, and 10,000 Demon Emperor. There are also 2 games that are quite good called Fatal Game and Super Wild Monsters. Now, I occasionally use my phone to watch them." Speaking of them, Yang Dabong could not stop talking. Zhou Xuanji shook his head, and his memories from his previous life appeared in his mind. It was precisely because of Yang Dabang's influence that he had once fallen in love with an author called Ren Wuxiao, who asked Yang Dabong to be Ren Wuxiao's diehard fan. He had even secretly used the money in his personal treasury to tip Ren Wuxiao to the alliance leader. Su Shu had discovered this and she was so infuriated that she scolded him for 2 whole days. Time passed so quickly. It was as if those scenes had happened just yesterday. On this day, while the whole world was still discussing the human ancestral reversion plan, the 3-legged golden crow in the sun suddenly woke up. In the darkness, a pair of cold eyes lit up. There was a loud bang. The sun exploded, triggering countless fireballs that flew to various parts of the universe. The 3-legged golden crow flapped its wings and flew out, raising its head and cawing. Its entire body was burning with raging flames, and its body was like a graceful sparrow. When it spread its wings, they were even larger than the diameter of the sun. Compared to the surrounding stars, the scene was extremely spectacular. Its voice did not reach Earth, but it did not take long for alarms to ring at all the aviation authorities on Earth. The 3-legged golden crow scanned its surroundings in the boundless sea of fire, and its gaze soon locked onto Earth. It had been speeding towards Earth at a speed faster than those fireballs. Meanwhile, Zhou Xuanji, who was taking a stroll along the coast of Europe, suddenly looked up. The global temperature began to rise and huge waves rose up in the ocean, causing the tourists on the beach to hide in panic. "He's finally here," Zhou Xuanji mumbled to himself. Jiang Shui was not worried. Even without Zhou Xuanji, Xian Xianghua could defeat the 3-legged golden crow. Xian Xianghua changed into the black robe of the Lord of the Demon Realm. She wore a crown on her head and a black veil over her face as she appeared above Earth's atmosphere. Looking at the unstoppable 3-legged golden crow, her eyes were filled with contempt. She did not take the 3-legged golden crow seriously at all. "You've grown so big, Yet you're only a heavenly law true god. How embarrassing. Xian Xianghua glared and two beams of black light shot out. Exterminating divine light. A divine ability from the primordial ancestor. Two beams of black light pierced through the three-legged golden crow's wings at an extremely fast speed, causing it to shriek in pain. Unfortunately, its voice could not be transmitted in the universe because there was no spiritual qi in the universe, so sound could not be transmitted in the vacuum. This time, Xian Xianghua did not kill the three-legged golden crow. She waved her sleeve and took the three-legged golden crow away. She did not leave immediately. Instead, she stared into the depths of the universe. Countless fireballs were hurtling towards Earth. Her eyes narrowed and the fireballs all exploded into smoke. She was, after all, a strong practitioner of the reaching heaven state, and her strength was close to that of a saint. After doing all this, she turned and flew toward Earth. Next, Earth began to welcome darkness. The temperature dropped and the entire world was in an uproar. What's going on? The sun seemed to have exploded. It's so cold. Could it really be the end of the world? Let's go home and turn on the air conditioner. Don't panic, netizens. Remember to turn on the floor heating. I'm poor. I don't have such things when I rent a house. The entire human race was terrified. The various aviation authorities received the images from the satellites and were all dumbfounded. There was a firebird hiding inside the sun. The firebird was terrifyingly huge. Before it, Earth was like a grain of sand. However, such a colossus was easily killed by a black-robed woman. The staff of the various aviation authorities were in a mess. They all contacted their respective leaders. The sun was destroyed and Earth would face a catastrophe. After all, Earth's environment, gravity, and meteorological changes were all related to the sun. On the beach, looking at the stars in the night sky, Zhou Xuanji shook his head with a smile. He raised his right hand and a bead flew out from his sleeve and disappeared. Next, it reappeared above Earth and gave off a powerful radiance, illuminating half of Earth. But Earth's temperature was still dropping. Zhou Xuanji slammed his right palm toward the ground. Saint energy enveloped Earth and restored the global temperature to normal. At the same time, he ensured that Earth's rotation speed was maintained. Otherwise, many people would have fainted. I need to interrogate that golden crow, Zhou Xuanji said softly. He then said to Jiang Shui, you can go back first. If my parents ask, tell them that I'm at a social gathering. Jiang Shui nodded and disappeared. Zhou Xuanji came to Xian Xianghua's side. At this moment, Xian Xianghua was lying on a sofa in a villa. She flipped her right hand and the golden crow, which was as big as an egg, levitated in her palm. She stared at the golden crow and said with a smile, this is a rare golden crow. I didn't expect it to be hiding in this mortal realm. Interesting. I wonder who left it here. Zhou Xuanji sat beside her and lay down. He knocked his legs on the tea table and took out the truth sword. He gently pierced the golden crow's body with the tip of the sword. To prevent it from being burned by the golden crow's solar true flame, he enveloped the truth sword with saint energy. Tell me, why did you appear in the solar system and who is your master? Zhou Xuanji asked softly. His tone was calm, but it made the golden crow extremely terrified.